Hi, my name is Lily Clayton Hansen. I am a two-time author and the creator of the Word of Mouth Conversations brand. I'm from Chicago, Illinois initially, and I'm now based in Nashville, Tennessee. How does what I do differ from other people? Well, a couple of years ago, I realized something. Two things. One, I had lost my voice as a writer. And two, I really love conversations. As a journalism major in school, I had first discovered the art of the interview. And over time, I realized, wow, I really love learning about other people's lives. And so when I moved to Nashville, I was also, in conjunction with that, lonely and felt like I didn't really know what was happening in this new city that I was living in. I didn't understand sort of the culture or what was going on around me. So one day I sat down at my kitchen table and I jotted down about 20 names. And these were all interesting people that I wanted to talk to. And so I began just calling them up and saying, hey, would you like to have coffee? I'd love to ask you about your life. And very quickly through these interviews, I realized again two things. One, everyone I was talking to was very, very passionate about what they did. There was always some sort of secret meaning behind their profession, and generally it had to do with people and connection. Two, all of my subjects had built their platform or their success via word of mouth. So literally one person telling another person about their special skill, talent, or job. And so basically from there, I acquired this big chunk of interviews. I ended up working with 4 amazing photographers, and we assembled our first book together and ended up selling it to a publisher in late 2014. And ever since then, I've continued doing my interviews. It's probably my greatest passion in life. What makes my conversations unique? I guess truthfully, you would have to let me interview you to know. I can only tell you what other people have told you or told me about my craft, which is basically I'm very easy to talk to. I always focus on really one thing in my interviews, which is someone's job. As one of my favorite writers, Studs Terkel, once said, I'm interested in what people do all day long and how they feel about what they do. So I think for me, I'm very non-judgmental. I'm pretty hard to shock, and as a lot of people have told, they feel like they can tell me anything. And I'm really always trying to get to the heart of why people do what they do. I feel like we spend a lot of our time working, and there's a million options out there in the world. We could all be a painter or a basketball player, maybe not that, but, a teacher, a politician. And I'm just very curious about why someone chooses to pursue something and, to do it very, very well. And generally, when you ask that question, there is, again, like the secret meaning behind it. There's something there's that spark. And I love reminding people of why they first got into doing what they do, because I think it's very easy to lose sight of that in today's world. What's happened since the creation of my first book? Well, I was very lucky when my first book, Word of Mouth Nashville Conversations, came out. It was very well received regionally. So since then, I've gotten it into about 16 different boutiques locally, including the Nashville Airport, who I now have a partnership with. I'm going to have a 3-wall art installation there early next year, which will feature photography from my book as well as sculptures and drawing inspired by the portraits. I also did a year-long live interview series at the Nashville Entrepreneur Center, during which every month I brought in a different character from my book and interviewed them in front of a live audience. And I also developed a partnership with Vanderbilt University, where I had a year-long art exhibition and also would bring in subjects for my book to talk to their students. What has kept me in the game for this long? This is one of my favorite questions to ask my subjects, because again, I feel like we live in a world where it's very easily to become distracted, and also when you're starting your own business or brand, it's really hard. I mean, I'll be honest, the last 5 years have been a absolute series of ups and downs in a roller coaster ride. But I guess what keeps me interested and engaged in what I do is that I've never had the same conversation twice. And I'm just endlessly fascinated by people. I studied psychology a little bit in school, and I always joke that I learned how to interview by going to therapy and watching my therapists and, what it was about them that made me want to open up. And I just think that people are fascinating, and I also think that at the core of it, people are good. And this was something I was telling someone the other day, which is that if you just read the news, you would think that 90% of the world is bad, and I don't believe that. I think that most people are trying to do the right thing, and if anything, they are going above and beyond and doing exceptional things in the world. And I feel like it's my mission to promote those people and shine the spotlight on those who are doing really amazing work in this world. What's next for me? Well, I have been very fortunate. I've been living in London the last couple of months, so I've acquired a pretty big amount of material, which I would hope to turn into a book about London. But what's next for me in the States is that I have established a really exciting new chapter as far as my brand goes, which is I'm now creating custom coffee table books for corporations and brands. So basically, a couple of years ago, after I started interviewing leaders of nonprofits and organizations, I became interested in who were the people beyond the face of this organization, who's actually doing the day-to-day work within these companies. And equally, I also realized that a lot of companies were very interested in expressing their company culture and their mission, and why it rocks to work at these specific places. So I've been working the last couple of months to develop this new branch of my business, and I'm actually kicking it off this fall in Nashville, and I'm really, really excited about it. I'm a huge lover of books and literature, and I feel like in this sort of fleeting social media, and BuzzFeed driven world, I want to offer companies and brands something tangible to show people why their company is so amazing. What have I learned from doing hundreds of interviews over the last couple of years? I've learned how to be a better listener. I've learned that we all need connection. I can't tell you how many times I've gotten a text message, an email, a phone call, a couple of letters. I love snail mail, by the way, if you ever want to send me a card. With people just thanking me for giving them my time. And it really got me thinking recently how often we get someone's undivided attention. We've all been in those situations where someone is distracted on their cell phone when they're talking to us, or we can tell they're like half listening because they're doing 18,000 things at once. And I guess for me, I've learned how to give someone my undivided attention and the power that can have, and how that literally can be transformative. I've had a lot of people tell me they've had great epiphanies after having a conversation with me, which, and I have too. I mean, I always learn something new about myself, and I think that for me, having face-to-face connection and conversations is just as important to my overall well-being as eating well and exercising. And I would really love to just make other people aware of this.